Snow flurries fell above the wild wood in an unhurried fashion. Mim lunged 2 large leather satchels behind her. She shivered beneath her cloak, stopping to catch her breath in a birch tree clearing. The sun had set, and the gloaming tinted the snow a pale pink. Mim would need to find shelter for the night. A desolate song echoed through the wood. Mim groaned as the blackbird caught up with her. "Go away," she shouted. Merlin stood before her in the next moment, flushed. With victory, she presumed. He took a step closer, and she drew back. "Where are you going, Mim?" "I don't know, but as long as you aren't there, I don't care." He flinched, running a hand through his hair. Merlin said, "Then I'll go with you." "Of all the nerve! You're not well invited. Besides, shouldn't you be packing for Camelot?" "Mim, this isn't how I thought today would end," he told her. "I never wanted to hurt you." "You keep saying that, Merlin, and yet you keep hurting me. That's not fair. Nothing is fair. You proved that today. Apprentice rule breaker, or should I say prince rule breaker." Merlin drew in a sharp breath. "You know the best ways to hurt me, Mim." Her entire body panged, but she refused to show it. Her love for him had been her downfall. If she hadn't made her care for him, she would be the new apprentice. Daring another step toward her, "I love you, Morrigan," Merlin declared. "You don't get to say that," she replied, voice breaking. "You don't get to love me after you betrayed me. If you really loved me, you wouldn't have used my own heart against me." Merlin's face crumpled. "I didn't betray you, Mim. I had no idea I could do what I did," he pleaded. "I taught you to hone your natural talent, and this is how you repaid me?" Mim balled her hands into fists. "I risked my heart, and you stole my future." "I'm sorry. You have no idea how sorry I am, Morrigan. It's the last thing I ever done." He got down on one knee. "By the cauldron, I swear I'll never cheat or bend the rules again. I hate myself for hurting you." She swiped angrily at her fresh tears. "If that's true, then tell the royal maid you declined her offer. Tell her that I should be her new apprentice." Merlin pushed to standing. He worried his jaw from side to side before he spoke. Mim knew what he would say. His decision was etched into every line of his face. Inhaling deeply, he said, "I've been speaking with King Uther. He thinks that having a mage from the Red Mountains will help him keep peace with my grandfather and the other northern kings." "Your grandfather sees you as an embarrassment." A hiss escaped Merlin as he sucked his teeth together. "Even so, for once I can see how my mixed parentage can help me do good in the world." "So much for serving kings and not being what it's cracked up to be," Mim retorted. "It's not about the kings, Morrigan." Merlin closed the remaining space between them. "I felt my mother with me today during the competition," he said, dropping a hand on Mim's shoulder. "My grandfather didn't want to make peace with Uther, but my mother convinced him. This is my chance to continue my mother's legacy. Do you see?" Mim did see, with perfect clarity. She understood why Taliesin had insisted that Merlin take part in the competition. She let out a soft, shrivel laugh. "I'll always be the better magic wielder, Merlin," she told him. "But it doesn't matter because my mother wasn't a princess. We were never in the same competition. We were always being judged by different rules." Merlin's lips parted. "I don't understand." "No, you can't understand. As much as you claim otherwise, you're still royalty. The choice today was political. It was never about talent." Pointing at herself, jabbing an angry finger at her own chest, Mim said, "I will always be an outsider, Merlin. The Lyceum let me believe that if I suppressed my shadow magic, if I embraced all of their rules, I could succeed, that I had as much chance as anyone of becoming royal mage." Her laughter grew hysterical. "It was all lies. I rejected so many parts of myself trying to be like everyone else." Mim shrugged off Merlin's touch. She unpicked her carefully plaited braid, letting the purple tresses blow freely in the snow-laced wind. When the rules are unfair, the only smart thing to do is to break them and create your own, she declared. The Lyceum should fear me. Camelot should fear me. All Britannia. You're acting mad, Mim, said Merlin in a low voice. Glancing at the darkening sky, he said, Let's get back to the Hidden Isle. You'll feel differently tomorrow. I'm not going anywhere. You can't stay in the wildwood. It's not safe. Mim scoffed. I'm the most dangerous thing in these woods. Fine, Merlin planted his feet. Then I'll stay too. How many times do I have to tell you that you're not invited, she said, raising her voice. Go back to your rules and your king. I don't want anything to do with them, or with you. His face contorted as if she'd slapped him. You don't mean that, Morgan. You can't just turn your back on what's between us. You can't be with me and serve the king. You have to choose. Silence followed to her ultimatum. The whole wildwood went quiet. Only the sound of falling snow echoed in Mim's ears. Behind her eyes, the snow turned to flickering flames. The vision she had from the cauldron made sense to her now. It wasn't Uther Pendragon she'd seen. Not quite. His rule was unjust. Britannia would never be safe for those with shadow magic while he was king. Uther and Camelot were her enemies. Merlin pressed his arms to his side. Sadness filled his winter blue eyes. I must choose peace. It's what my mother would do, he said, resolved. Then we are enemies. From this day forward, there will be nothing but enmity between us. Not on my part, Morgan. I will keep hoping that you'll find it in your heart to forgive me. She bit her lips together, fury surging, breathing harshly, chest rising and falling. You are no longer in my heart, Merlin. Please, Morgan, he said, tone ragged. Please don't say that. I will never love anyone or anything again. You showed me that love is weakness, but I should thank you because I've torn the tenderness from my heart and cauterized the wound. Merlin shook his head. I don't believe you. Then watch this and just try to break my magic. The shadows encroached from every corner of the wildwood. Mim beckoned them, invited them, as if they were kittens and arranged a saucer of milk. She lifted her arms toward the night sky. The darkness sheathed her. She drew it into herself, a cold that burned, raw and intense. Bitterness fueled her, a limitless source of energy. A lifetime's worth of tears could be combustible. This was what Mim had been missing. The icy shadows that swarmed her heart belonged there. They made her powerful. They were home. She was home. She was the dragon. Mim felt the violent flame at her core, and then her mortal form fell away. Snow fell on her iridescent scales as she grew and grew, wings towering above the trees. She was incandescent, her underbelly exposed yet tough. A royal purple dragon, a beautiful monster. Morgan, gasped Merlin. The horror was plain on his face. She answered with a roar of fire. He bent his knees and squared his shoulders, closing his eyes. Mim watched with intense concentration on Merlin's face. She felt petty assaults against her magic. They bounced off her like pebbles against a coat of armor. Sweat dripped from Merlin's temples. He gritted his teeth so hard it looked like they might break. Merlin was no match for her. She had traded love for shadows, and now she was invincible. Finally, he opened his eyes. Surprise lit them, then despair, as she pounded the snow with her dragon tail. For the first time, Mim realized she was seeing her true self. You've proved your point, said Merlin, breathless. You don't love me. His shoulders curled forward. He took delight in his exhaustion. Hate me all you want, Mim, but come back to the Lyceum. You don't have to be alone. Except Mim was alone, and she always had been. She seared the clearing with her breath. I'll come back tomorrow, said Merlin, and the day after that, and the day after that. But Mim wouldn't be there. The snow shimmered around Merlin as he transformed. He circled Mim's head as a blackbird. She yawned, releasing a burst of flame that singed Merlin's wings. He raced back toward the hidden isle, a lament sufficing the air. Mim remained alone with the shadows, where she belonged, where she was meant to be. At long last, Mim was free to be herself. Mim was free, and she would bring Camelot to its knees. Wow. Wow. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's an incredible short story right there, and I wish it had continued the way it was. Like, instead of being a short story, I wish that was a different version of Set in Stone, or at least a different one, or at least a longer A Dragon in the Snow. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope to see you next time on our next Read Aloud. Have a nice day. See you real soon.